Loktar, friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And for those of you who enjoy watching these videos every day, please click like down below. Help keep the likes higher than the dislikes, only you can do that. But today, you guys notice, like some of the days, there's no random number generator. Because I just felt like doing chains on a box squat. Like I haven't done chains on a box squat with fairly heavy chains to a max for a few weeks. Let me just try one. So that's just what I felt like doing today. And sure enough, I got a PR. And we'll talk about that later of what's going on with that. Honestly, I've said that I'm really trying to gear towards the bench more, deadlift second, and most of my accessory lifts are really geared towards the deadlift at this point. Yet my squat keeps working up. And I think it goes to show that, again, glutes, hamstrings, erectors, hips matter. And I feel like at this point, my quads aren't even a weak link. I didn't really feel my quads on this. My erectors aren't really a weak link either anymore because I've adjusted my form. I feel like hips and glutes, like I've really felt my hips on this. I almost didn't get this lockout. For people who wonder why it took me so long to set up when I went for this 502 plus the 77 chains, the chains pulled me off balance swinging, and I had to rebalance myself. Now, a lot of you guys are looking at that going, wow, that's fast. No, that's fast because I've been doing all this box work and because I've been doing speed work and explosive training all year. That's why that was fast. That was not easy. I almost didn't get the lockout. I had to basically externally rotate my hips by driving my knees out in order to lock that. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to lock it on the way up. So that actually was pretty hard for me. So that, 579 at the lockout? That was tough. Adjusted my hip thrust. I've got everything set up better. I found a way to set up quicker, set up more securely. For those curious, yes, the bench is pressed up against my safeties at the top. That's one of my points of contact. That's to keep it from tipping. That helped a lot. I also found when I was warming up that if I dropped the 1-inch pads down, it was easier for me to get into position. I'm also working on better posterior pelvic tilt, trying not to lead with my chest. I had someone comment saying that I should do that, and looking at my own footage, looking at the biomechanics and how I felt, I actually realized they were right. And I very rarely take lifting advice in my comment section. You guys know that. Usually my first question is, how many 800-pound deadlifters do you coach? Because everyone who I normally have look at my form on lifts, that's usually kind of one of my guidelines. I want them to have at least 1 or 2 800-pound deadlifters. Because if they don't, then they're not going to be much help to me. I'm already a 600-plus pound puller. So a coach who's not working with guys at a higher level than me may not be of real value to me. But, man, did I feel these today. And it wasn't the same lower back fatigue I got last time. It did work my erectors a lot. In fact, they felt really beat up from the good mornings. But my glutes, and I felt a lot of quad. Now, for those curious, my foot position, that's about all I can do with it. I don't have a lot of wiggle room to change it because of my position, and it just happened to put me in a good spot. But I stopped at 3 sets. I'm going to have to build work capacity on those. I want to get them up to 5. But I felt like I had so much glute activation, and actually my quads really lit up on that. And it could be because I squatted to a max first. But I felt a lot of quad. I felt a lot of glute. I have to admit, as far as glute exercises go, yeah, we've got EMGs showing that exercise is really good. And it's comparable with the glute bridge. But if I were to go by feel, and we don't always want to go by feel, I have to admit I felt it more in my glutes. I don't think I've felt any exercise hit my glutes as hard as those hip thrusts. They're just a pain to get set up. But they're going to be a staple for a bit because I feel like as far as return on my investment, they might be a bit better than the glute bridge, particularly if I don't want to put any real quad work in because they'll build quads up. But we did 5 sets of good mornings next, and I think people need to look at this. A lot of people chimed in when I mentioned this before. They're like, you don't believe in maxing on good mornings? No, and I know a lot of the West Side guys do, but they don't even max. They do triple maxes, and that's sometimes in place of a squat or a deadlift. But as far as your rep work goes, there's no need to try to go super heavy. You go as heavy as you can while maintaining good form and work on volume on this lift. And for me, that's 205. And you know what? That's about right. look at what my deadlift is, and look at what a lot of guys who say the same thing say, who've used the Good Mornings to build their deadlifts. I've seen Wendler say that when he was pulling 650, that he could do 10 reps with 225 on a Good Morning with great form, and it worked great getting him to a 650 deadlift. And then later, he started trying to go heavier and heavier on them, and it caused him a lot of problems. But I want to point out that doing 10 reps with 225, it seemed to have been very, very useful in getting his deadlift to 650. I'm right at like a 600 deadlifter. You guys extrapolate the math. If your sets of 10 are around a third of what you can deadlift, maybe a hair less than a third, right? About 600, doing 205. And then his 225 equal to 650. That sounds pretty close to right. Here's what I would say to people. If you're going heavier than that, if you're exceeding a third of your deadlift max for 10s on your Good Mornings, you might want to re-examine your exact form on it and what you're doing with it. You want to have a controlled eccentric. You're trying to get a stretch reflex on the hamstring at the bottom and then snap up. Because I can honestly say that 5 sets of 10 with this weight for me, my hamstrings and my erectors, and I'm talking thoracic erectors and spinal erectors, are usually extremely lit up. They are extremely fatigued. All right, so case in point there. And when I look at other people out there's ratios who use the same exercise for volume, my ratios are actually really, really close, almost identical. So I'm not in a hurry to increase weight on this. As long as I'm getting the training effect I want, that's what I'm going to do. And I might, as my deadlift goes up, start micro-loading this. Maybe do 2.5 pound jumps and work my way up to 225. And I've done heavier Good Mornings. I've done 315 for a triple before, or for 5s even. On camera years ago, I've done it. But my deadlift's a little better now. So it works fine. Let's come over to the other point. What's going on with the squat? Well, it seems like all of this posterior chain work, and there is quad involvement with all of it. People need to understand that there's going to be a lot of trickle over volume on quads. My quads are still going to grow from what I'm doing. Just trying to continue to build the posterior chain. And I mean the whole thing. Seems to be improving my squat, because that stronger spine helps a lot. Being able to drive through with the hips helps a lot. Why did I have thoracic rounding in the past? Well, bad head position. Bad head position, possibly back weakness. Well, now that I'm really focusing on all of my erectors, top to bottom, including traps, I'm working my whole back. Really working my glutes, working all my hips. I'm making sure these things are continuing to come up. The squat is still improving, even though these are deadlift specific, because I care right now more about my bench and my deadlift. Yet in spite of that, the squat is still slowly coming up without doing anything that is specific to the squat that doesn't improve the deadlift. Not doing any rep work on squats. None of that. So it's all carrying over. And I still feel like my hips are the weak link. I feel like my squat would go up more if I just keep getting my hips stronger. Hips and glutes. So we're addressing all that. Then we did the Pendley Rows again. 5 sets of 10, because I'm going to do that every workout for now. I feel like my back needs to work. I need to make sure that my pulling volume is maximizing all of my upper back growth, because I need to make sure we keep my shoulder girdle stable. I need the extra posterior delt, mid-trap, rhomboid work, all that stuff. Right? So we need all that to be worked. We need it to be built up. I need the extra grip training. And since I've cut the chin-ups out, and I've got a video coming out tomorrow, I think I'll work it in for current events where I explain what's going on, what I learned from the chin-up experiment. But the rows now I'm going to do every day. So yeah, if I do 5 sets of this every day, it's going to be 35 sets a week. And notice I don't have to go that heavy. I can go heavier. But we're trying to be strict. We're trying to be explosive. And I'm doing very short breaks. These are like 60-second breaks. So, 165 pounds is fine. That's what I'm using. I can do 225. Not going to be quite as strict. And I'm trying to get that full spreading of the scapula at the bottom. I'm trying to use my lats to pop it off the floor. All right, that's what we're trying to do. And it'll work. It'll work just fine. And again, because I'm having to use a lighter weight to maintain that strictness, better for recovery, I can do a lot more volume, and then it won't affect my deadlift. And it still helps build those areas. People need to remember that. Then I decided, like I've did on the other things for brevity, I'm going to superset all my single joint exercises, which is arms, it's biceps and triceps on upper body day, but it's hamstrings and traps on my lower body day. Yes, I'm counting traps as lower body. This is part of the whole thoracicolumbar sling. Traps matter more to my squat and deadlift than they do to my bench. The bench day is bench specific. Everything we do on bench day carries over to the bench press. So it doesn't matter if we do some upper body stuff on the lower. This all helps my deadlift. But I'm supersetting these because they're single joint exercises, right? We don't care about getting the most awesome performance. These are single joint movements. We're just trying to build fatigue. And I'm limited by grip anyways on the shrugs, and that doesn't matter. My traps get a ton of work. My traps are growing. But now that I've added rows and shrugs in, they're growing pretty quick again. They seem to be growing again. They're going to continue to grow. Right? They're going to continue to grow. But I'm supersetting these because it's not that big of a deal. They're smaller movements. Single joint exercises, we just need to generate fatigue. We've already done all the real work. The shrugs and the glute ham raises here are just to make sure that two of my weakest muscles get worked. The shrugs are also part of my grip training. Yeah, they're definitely fatiguing my traps. But I've got to keep working grip. And because I'm not doing 100 chins every day, the extra grip work could be beneficial. Yes, I'll be messing with my pinch blocks some still. I may work some farmer's walks back in. And all that'll help with grip also. I need to make sure my grip's on point. That's the other thing. I'm doing all this supplemental work for my deadlift mainly, even though it seems to be helping with my squat. I'm doing it for deadlifts. Well, I need to be able to grip more. Right? We need to know that my grip will be able to take 650 on a deadlift without slipping. Right? Because I can pull 600 now. But we need to work towards 650. I had a lot of guys say, go for 7. Well, how about I get to 650 first? How about we get to 625 first? Right? Let's not put the cart before the horse. I've got a long way to go. It's one heck of a climb to go from barely breaking 6-ish to 7. All right? That's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, guys. So I'm not going to look that far. Just going to be get to what I can get. Let's just get as strong as possible. But we've got to plan ahead. Everything is about support structure. So if I'm looking at saying, hey, I need to deadlift 650. Well, I need to be able to make sure that I can grip 650 easily. That my grip is never going to be an issue. So shrugs. This helps. High volume shrugs. Every lower body workout without straps. Extra pinch block work. Whatever we got to do. So the shrugs kills 2 birds with 1 stone. And I couldn't finish all of these glute ham raises. Like these really became a problem for me. As I got to the final set, I think I got to about 7, and that's it. That's all I could do. Normally, like with these bands before, I was able to get my 5x10 at least once, actually a couple times with this band at the end of a workout. But I'm at the point where some of the other training is getting so tough because of things like those hip thrusts. Those things really, really fatigued me. Doing basically limit sets on the good mornings. Even adding in the rows work some of the posterior chain. They fatigue it. It just felt like by that last set, that was it. My hamstrings were out of steam. They were out of steam, so I got what I got. I got what I got. And that's fine. It's all we can expect. We can do what we can do. And at least I pretty much got to failure, so we know we stimulated good growth. So all in all, great workout. Really happy with my performance. That squat PR was great. I had to dig in deep to finish all the supplemental work. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.